Aum Sairam. Hara Hara Shankara, Jaya Jaya Shankara. Episode 9. Shri Mahaswami, the sage with eyes of light. The diary of a seeker of truth, Dr.Serge Demetrian. Dear devotees, now we shall continue to listen to the first part of this divine book under the subtitle Biographical Data of Shri Mahaswami up to 1969. I started gathering biographical information on his life as well as some views of certain persons who had been in his presence. It is in this way I came to know that Swaminathan, the family birth name of Shri Mahaswami, was born on a Sunday, the 20th May 1894 at 1:16 p.m. in Viluppuram, a town situated at some 150 kilometers south of Madras. His father had been a teacher who was then promoted to a regional school inspector for his district. Swaminathan had an ordinary childhood. On his Jyotisha chart, that is Vedic astrological chart, revealed that the moment of his birth showed an exceptionally favorable configuration. For those who believed and understood astrology, it could have made them see the possibility that the child would make an indelible impression on the last century of the second millennium in India. The boy, who was the second child in the family, hardly received any traditional education from his parents. After a period of elementary studies at home, they sent him to an English language school founded by a Christian mission at Dindivanam, a town some 125 kilometers south of Madras. Swaminathan proved a model student. He earned several prizes, one of which was in Bible studies. Although his parents were respectful towards the Hindu tradition, they might have thought of Swaminathan following his father as a teacher or entering a similar profession. They had no idea what destiny had in store. It so happened that at the end of 1906, the 66th Acharya of the Shri Shankaracharya Smt from Kanchipuram, whose name was Chandrasekharendra Saraswati, had set up his camp for a few days near Dindivanam. The young Swaminathan, in the company of one of his schoolmates and without informing his parents, went to see the Acharya and paid homage to him, a customary gesture towards prominent figures of the religion. After the meeting, rather unusually, the Acharya wanted him to remain some more time at the camp. Two pandits attached to the mutt also insisted. Swaminathan, mindful of his neglected studies and as well not having the approval of his parents, declined the invitation. After the boy left, the Acharya, who had not yet chosen his successor, disclosed to the two pandits of the mutt that Swaminathan was his choice as a successor. For some unknown reasons, the Acharya hurriedly left that place before his decision could be made public and the parents of Swaminathan be notified, especially without the official investiture being performed. A few weeks after his visit to Dindivanam, Chandrasekharendra Saraswati unexpectedly met his death at Kalavai, a locality at 40 km southeast of Kanchipuram, where he was camping. He was barely 38 years old. The authorities of the mutt surprised by the suddenness of this event, chose as the successor a young man of 19 years who had followed a course of traditional studies and who, having been attached to the mutt for some time, was familiar with the monastic life. He became the 67th Acharya. Coincidentally, he was a maternal cousin of Swaminathan. However, this young Acharya, Mahadevendra, by his monastic name, had hardly been invested when he too fell seriously ill. He expired after 6 days in the same locality and he was interred near his predecessor. It was the shortest period of reign of an Acharya of the mutt in a history extending back on more than 2 millennia. It was only then that the mutt officials became aware of the importance of the choice made by the 66th Acharya at Dindivanam. By chance, both Pandits who had been witnesses to that meeting remembered the name and the address of Swaminathan. A messenger was dispatched to bring the youngster by a route that passed through Kanchipuram, the headquarters of the mutt. In the meantime, Swaminathan, along with his mother, was heading for the mutt by bullock cart. They knew only that his cousin had been chosen as the Acharya of the Kanchipuram mutt. In an article, What Life Has Taught Me, Sri Mahaswami remembers, at the beginning of the year 1907, when I was studying in a Christian mission school at Dindivanam, a town in the South Arcot district, I heard one day that the Shankaracharya of the Kamakoti Pita, who was amidst us in our town in the previous year, attained Siddhi at Kalavai, a village about 10 miles from Arcot and 25 miles from Kanchipuram. Information was received that a maternal cousin of mine who, after some study in the Rig Veda, had joined the camp of the Acharya offering his services to him, was installed on the Pita. He was the only son of a widowed and destitute sister of my mother, and there was not a soul in the camp to console her. At this juncture, my father, who was a supervisor of schools in the Dindivanam Taluk, planned to proceed with his family to Kalavai, some 60 miles from Dindivanam, in his own touring bullock cart. But on account of an educational conference at Tiruchinappalli, he cancelled the program. My mother, with myself and other children, started for Kalavai to console her sister on her son assuming sannyasa ashrama, that is the ascetic life of a monk. We travelled by train to Kanchipuram and arrived at the Shankaracharya Mata there. I had my ablution at the Kumaragoshta Tirtha. A carriage of the Mata had come there from Kalavai with persons to buy articles for the Mahapuja on the 10th day after the passing away of the late Acharya Paramaguru. But one of them, a hereditary master of the mutt, asked me to accompany him. A separate cart was engaged for the rest of the family to follow me. During our journey, the mastery hinted to me that I might not return home and that the rest of my life might have to be spent in the mutt itself. I thought that my elder cousin having become the head of the mutt, it might have been his wish that I was to live with him. I was then only 13 years of age, and so I wondered as to what use I might be to him in the institution. But the mastery gradually began to clarify as miles rolled on that the Acharya, my cousin in Purvashrama, had fever which developed into delirium, and that was why I was being separated from the family to be quickly taken to Kalavai. He told me that he was commissioned to go to Dindivanam itself and fetch me, but he was able to meet me at Kanchipuram itself. I was stunned with this unexpected turn of events. I lay in a kneeling posture in the cart itself, shocked as I was, repeating Rama, Rama, the only spiritual prayer I knew during the rest of the journey. My mother and the other children came some more time later, only to find that instead of her mission of consoling her sister, she herself was placed in the state of having to be consoled by someone else. My robes of sannyasa were not the result of any renunciation on my part, nor had I the advantage of living under a guru for any length of time. I was surrounded from the very day of sannyasa by all the comforts and responsibilities of a gorgeous court. Swaminathan, still being young, asked the permission of his father by telegram. With permission given, he was then installed on the ancient seat of the Shankaracharya of the Kanchipuram Mutt on 13th February 1907 at Kalavai. He became the 68th Acharya under the sannyasa name of Chandrasekharendra Saraswati. After the ceremony, he went and stood in silent contemplation at the graves of both the Acharyas who had preceded him in such shockingly quick time. His first journey was to Kumbakonam, a traditional town situated further south, where the offices of the Kanchipuram Mutt had been shifted in the 18th century under the 62nd Acharya due to the turbulent political upheavals in the entire South India. En route, the young Acharya stopped for 3 days at Dindivanam. The entire town gave to him a rousing reception, especially his old schoolmates and the teachers of the American Mission School where he had been the student. The Acharya benevolently received them and was warm and friendly to each one. He then parted with no regrets from the life of the world and started on a mission that had tremendous consequences for Hindus, particularly of South India. The festive enthronement of Sri Mahaswami as the head of the Kanchi Kamakoti Pita took place in the month of May 1907 at Kumbakonam. He remained in the town for the next 2 years, listening to discourses on basic philosophical and literary works delivered in Sanskrit by the traditional scholars attached to the mutt. The 5 years that followed were dedicated to more advanced studies. Out of these 5 years, Sri Mahaswami spoke of 3 years of retirement and meditation in a distant village, Mahendra Mangalam, on the banks of the river Kaveri. He returned to Kumbakonam at the age of 20. In 1919, he started his first tour of India, which was to last up to 1939, and it was during one of these tours that he came finally to the banks of the Ganges at Kashi, that is Banaras. One of his devotees, Sri K.S. Venkataramani, an Indian poet and writer, describes him this way. Worship releases the noblest energy. Work in worship sublimes man like celestial fire. No wonder my Acharya Swami easily becomes the center of learning and the final arbiter of the first problems of life. He lives the life that he preaches. Words and deeds gain in him the crowning unity that is Advaita. The personal life of the Acharya Swami is one of the plainest living and highest thinking. He is the hardest of all the workers during the hours of the day. My Acharya Swami is royal and urban, dignified and courteous. Sits lofty the spiritual eminence of Shankara on his brow. Lambent beams the light of cosmic intelligence on his face. He is full of knowledge. Such is the acquisitive power of the meditative mind. He knows everything, from the imperial craft of British statesmanship to the travails and agonies of Soviet Russia, from the scientific method of agriculture in modern Japan to the most trivial sartorial fashions of the day in Paris. My Acharya Swami is always open and ready for philosophical discussion and commands the speech of classic Sanskrit with ease and terseness. But my Acharya Swami is at his very best while he journeys administering spiritual solace to the country people. Whenever he feels a call to go out to stir the religious consciousness and advance the power and blessing of the Pita, he moves out. After having travelled up and down across the surroundings of Kumbakonam, Sri Mahaswami visited Rameshwaram in September 1922. It is a renowned place of pilgrimage by the coast of the Bay of Bengal, on an island not very far from the mainland. He collected some sand that was immersed later in the waters of the Ganges as a sign that symbolized the spiritual unity of India. During the second half of the year 1927, Sri Mahaswami travelled through Kerala. Mahatma Gandhi, who was visiting through the same area, wanted to meet him. The meeting took place one afternoon at Nallisheri near Palakkad. They met on the veranda of the house where Sri Mahaswami was residing at the time. Those who observed him felt that he was the authentic successor of Adi Shankara, as he sat on the floor clad in a hand-woven ochre cloth with the danda in his hand and the kamandalu near him. Before him sat the most eminent political leader of India, who had voluntarily adopted the lifestyle of an Indian peasant. The conversation lasted for a considerable time, and when by 6 o'clock in the evening one of the assistants of Mahatma Gandhi came and mentioned that it was the time for dinner, Mahatma Gandhi replied, "The talk I had with the Acharya will be the dinner for this night." Nothing came to light about the subjects that had been discussed. More than 40 years after this meeting and more than 20 years after the assassination of the Mahatma Gandhi, Sri Mahaswami was approached to address a seminar, "The Actuality of Mahatma Gandhi for the World of Thought," which was held in November 1968 at the University of Madras. Sri Mahaswami remembered word by word the meeting in 1927 with the one who in the meantime had become the father of the nation. Sri Mahaswami spoke, we intend to inform the seminar about one of the several subjects that had been discussed during our meeting with Gandhiji at Palkat, Kerala, the last Prabhava year. Before the arrival of Gandhiji at Palkat, we have been apprised about the murder of Shraddhananda from Arya Samaj. Talking about this event, Gandhiji spoke so: I am afraid that from now onwards such crimes will become more frequent. I would like that no hate should appear in my heart against the murderer. I would so much lovingly embrace that cruel man and Athathian who had committed such a crime. But it is so difficult to develop such a love. Still, I will honestly try to do it. Sri Mahaswami ends his message this way: what I want to underline is that it is very rare to hear in this world someone who expresses such a feeling. After his meeting with Mahatma Gandhi, Sri Mahaswami continued his Padayatra further south up to the Cape Comorin, where the waters of the oceans that contoured 3/4 of India meet. Then he started walking north in order to spend 1 month in the year 1929 in Tiruvannamalai, the famous holy place at the foot of the sacred hill Arunachala. By the time there lived at this place another great sage of the 20th century, Sri Ramana Maharishi. After about 2 years, not very far towards north and east, in the town Chengalpattu, some 55 kilometers south from Chennai, the English writer Paul Brunton had his life changed after meeting Sri Mahaswami. Paul Brunton wrote, I look at him in silence. This short man is clad in the ochre-colored robe of a monk and leans his weight on a friar's staff. I have been told that he is on the right side of 40. Hence, I am surprised to find his hair quite grey. His noble face, pictured in grey and brown, takes an honored place in the long portrait gallery of my memory. That elusive element that the French aptly term spiritual is present in this face. His expression is modest and mild, the large dark eyes being extraordinarily tranquil and beautiful. The nose is short, straight, and classically regular. There is a rugged little beard on his chin, and the gravity of his mouth is most noticeable. Such a face might have belonged to one of the saints who graced the Christian church during the Middle Ages, except that this one possesses the added quality of intellectuality. I suppose we of the practical West would say that he has the eyes of a dreamer. Somehow, I feel in an inexplicable way that there is something more than mere dreams behind those heavy lids. Paul Brunton informed Sri Mahaswami about his spiritual aspiration, and Sri Mahaswami encouraged him and directed him to Sri Ramana Maharishi at Tiruvannamalai. During the night that followed this meeting at Madras, Paul Brunton had a vision of Sri Mahaswami. The room is totally dark. I feel my nerves strangely tense. The atmosphere around me seems like electrified air. I pull my watch from under the pillow and, by the glow of its radium-lit dial, discover the time to be 2:45. It is then that I become conscious of some bright object at the foot of the bed. I immediately sit up and look straight at it. My astounded gaze meets the face and the form of His Holiness Shri Shankara. It is clearly and unmistakably visible. He seems not to be some ethereal ghost, but rather a solid human being. There is a mysterious luminosity around the figure which separates it from the surrounding darkness. Surely the vision is an impossible one. Have I not left him at Chengalpet? I close my eyes tightly in an effort to test the matter. There is no difference, and I still see him quite plainly. Let it suffice that I receive the sense of a benign and friendly presence. I open my eyes and regard the kindly figure in the loose yellow robe. The face alters, for the lips smile and seems to say, "Be humble, and then you shall find what you seek." Why do I feel that a human being is addressing me? Why do I not regard it as the ghost, at least? The vision disappears as mysteriously as it has come. It leaves me feeling exalted, happy, and unperturbed by its supernatural nature. From Chengalpattu, Sri Mahaswami headed for Kanchipuram, the headquarters of the Kamakoti Pita. It was his first visit since he was installed as the head of the mutt. His ceremonial entry in this temple town, one of the 7 most sacred towns of the Hindus, took place on Sunday, 25th January 1931. In the middle of this town rises the temple of the great goddess Sri Kamakshi, of which the administration is in the charge of the mutt. Traditionally, it is in this temple that Adi Shankara, the founder of the order of monks to which Sri Mahaswami belongs, abandoned his body forever. After spending 1 year and a half in Kanchipuram, Sri Mahaswami went to Madras, where, starting at the end of September 1932, he stayed 4 months at the Sanskrit college of the town. It was there he graciously received the thousands of people who wanted to see him while sitting on the silver throne that was fitting to his position. He delivered every day a speech in public by declaring his faith in Advaita, underlining the duties of the devotees, remembering the eternal rules of Dharma, the Hindu law of virtue, explaining the importance of the traditional holidays, showing how the different cults of Hinduism match each other, and numerous other subjects. His pilgrimage to Kashi, the spiritual capital of India, began in September 1933. It was the Ganga Yatra, the most respected religious journey prescribed to the Hindus. In July 1934, Sri Mahaswami reached Prayag, that is Allahabad, the confluence of the Ganges, the Yamuna, and the underground river Saraswati. There he immersed the sand brought from Rameshwaram for this very aim and filled a pot with water that was to be taken to Rameshwaram, thus following a time-honored tradition. He walked then as a simple pilgrim to Kashi in response to the numerous letters of invitation sent to him from 1932 onwards by the scholars and the citizens. A reception committee had been formed under the presidency of the local Maharaja. Sri Mahaswami entered Kashi on the 6th October 1934 and he remained there up to the beginning of March 1935. At the time of his departure, an immense and popular farewell gathering had assembled in a single place the finest representatives of the cultural richness of Kashi. All the speakers expressed their esteem for Sri Mahaswami and their highest consideration concerning the venerable stature and fame of the Kanchi Kamakoti Pita. After several years and numerous journeys across the south of India, Sri Mahaswami decided to install as his successor the young Subramanya, who was born on 18th July 1934 near Thanjavur and who had recently completed his Vedic studies. The initiation ceremony took place in Kanchipuram on the 22nd March 1954 in a small temple on the banks of the Sarvatirtha tank. The monastic name of the young Shankaracharya given to him was Jayendra Saraswati. More than 12 years after this event, in October 1966, Sri Mahaswami, in the company of the young Shankaracharya, started a long Padayatra across the state of Andhra Pradesh. He visited a number of the areas he had touched already during his first tour of India between 1919 and 1939. After reaching Secunderabad, both Shankaracharyas observed the vow of the Chaturmasya of the year 1968. This journey concluded in May 1969 when Sri Mahaswami returned to Kanchipuram and retired to a hut on the bank of the Sarvatirtha tank in the western corner of the town. Devotees, let us close this episode and shall listen to the second part of Sri Mahaswami in the coming episode, bowing at the holy feet of the Gurus. Aum Sairam. Hara Hara Shankara. Jaya Jaya Shankara.